love the topic because I think what I really got out of what I just heard, and maybe you can restate this better, but um, it's all about our confidence and our ability to not worry about what everybody else thinks and be able to stand up
Right.
for ourselves and say, "Hey," whether you're in a room of or a classroom or if you're at something else, it just, "Hey, I didn't get that. Can you repeat that?" And not feel like, have the confidence to not feel the shame. And I think I needed
Yeah.
did, as a child,
Yeah.
and I still do, you know?
But yeah, but teaching our kids boundaries, that was one thing in the classroom too that was so important because we we don't do that very well. That when someone violates your boundary, that you have the right to say, "Well, I disagree, and this is what I'm thinking." Always do it in a good way. And try to, or someone asks you to do something, and you want to say yes, and you say yes, and then go, I wish I wouldn't have said that. No, have the guts to say no. Right now, it's not fitting into my schedule, or don't put yourself in precarious situations because you feel you owe somebody something, or you don't want them to think ill of you. You want to have that strength again to stand on your feet and say yes or no, or I can do this, or I can work around that. You
You know
know.
what? I'm thinking and I'm not a deep thinker, but, the again, and I said this to you probably before, I probably said this 100 times to 100 people, but I'm not a big fan of social media. I'm not a big fan of this, instant gratification thing going
Mhm,
on. I
mhm.
feel like social media is a big part of that. And it's I mean, that has to be a huge part of our confidence because I feel like that has changed. A lot of kids did have the confidence to speak up and are losing that because it's, "Hey, what does everybody else think? That's what I want to think." That group
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
you know?
Well, look how yeah, they just all fall in line like lemmings. I mean, truly, you look at the freshmen and they're watching everybody. "Oh, can I do that? Should I do that? Should I dress like that? What do I do? What do I do to fit in?" Be yourself. I think the biggest thing I do for any student, if they come in and they're dressed kind of bizarrely or, not fitting the norm, wearing the sweatpants and the t-shirt rolled up or whatever. They come in but I look at 'em and they have colored hair and other things going on, and I look at them and I go, "Thank you for entering this classroom, for being authentically you, because the message you're sending that this is you. So don't let anybody tell you not to be you."
I love
So that's my biggest joy. And then there's so many students now. Again, when I see that they're struggling, to say, okay, what's the struggle? What can I do to help? Even though I'm just here for a few minutes, because I'll plant seeds, if I may, and say again, don't let someone talk you out of being authentically you, and that may change,
yeah. Well,
but
I love that. I
yeah, as
love
long as
that.
you're being real to
'Cause
yourself,
I think that there is a lot of that whole conformity thing or the opposite,
hmm
which is maybe the crazy hair that's because 'cause I'm not gonna conform,
yeah,
right? And I
right,
think the same thing's going on with both those. Those people are insecure and they're doing something,
yeah,
and all they need to hear is, "I love that you're being you."
yeah,
Right? It doesn't matter
yeah,
one that wears
yeah.
everything straight laced or if they go crazy on the outside. They're just trying to figure out how to be them, and we all are. Every one of us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, like I know I shared with you when I was in the trauma informed school, and I was teaching, how to break intergenerational trauma. I would show YouTube videos, but I'd always tell the kids, and I'd do it with whiteboards because I never watch a video all the way through. We have to stop, dialogue, talk, ask questions, write questions as you're watching. Right now, there's another thought that came in, and this is that ADHD in me, where okay, to go back to the original thought on being authentic, right? Now, can I go back there? Right now, I can't. You know, and but that's how my brain works. Again,
Okay.
I let that tangent take me away from another topic, but there's so many,
Yeah, there is.
Brian.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing
Well,
because I one thing
yeah.
I got to know from you is just you made me think, and I don't know if that you even know you do it, but you made me think a few times about what I'm trying to accomplish, where I'm trying to go. And it was just in the way you and that's what struck me. That's why I wanted you to come on the podcast because like you are a teacher at heart and you
Yeah.
do it naturally. And
Yeah.
you made me think about a lot of things that how I'm doing things. And so that's actually one reason why I thought of you when I had started the podcast. Like how do I who would be a good fit for this? And you're so
Yeah.
interesting.
That we're constantly evolving. Oh, I was talking about the YouTube videos in the classroom that came back to me. Isn't
Yeah.
it? I love how the mind works. It didn't quit on me, and that's that positive thinking.
Yeah.
So it doesn't shut down. But I'd have the kids watch the video, but I say, look at the audience. Like if it was with Mel Robbins or Brene Brown, or whoever else was, how introducing how to be a better thinker or working through trauma. But I said, look at the audience; they're all older. I said, look at these old people; they're looking for answers too. Again, I'm 71; I'm still looking for
Yeah.
answers. You're what, 56,
50. I'm
right?
gonna be 58
Si-
soon, yeah, and I
Okay,
I'm
50.
look
Yeah,
they're
and we're
all they're
still,
looking for the answers too.
yeah, yeah. How to do it better? Always do it
Yeah,
better.
yeah. What
But
would you say that's your strength is that that you're always looking for that next thing to be better?
well, yeah, I think that's yeah. To read a book, again, we've talked about where 56% of adults read at a sixth grade level. Those in poverty read at a fourth grade level. So how do we help them? Because when you quit reading, and then that's because I'll tell students all the time, all these thoughts again, Brian. Sorry, but when I go help a student, I say, "Do you want me to think for you, or can we think through this together?" Because, if you're asking me to think for you, I'm not going to do that. Or if I see somebody misbehaving and I come over and I said, "Oh, it looks like you want me to think for you because you're not making the right decision. So do you want to do that together, or do you want me to just make the decision for you?" It's always like that. I mean, and Brian, the reason I do that because my struggle in education was a struggle, and I don't want students to struggle like
Yeah.
that, you know, and then I did summer school and they were doing the same thing over and over that we did for 9 months. Finally, I went to my principal, summer school principal, and I said, how far can we drive the nail into the board before we scar it?
Yeah.
I said, we're doing the same thing for these kids in summer school that we did for their 9 months. It's not working. Do you want to change? Can I change it? Can I bring in my big stream tables? I built huge stream tables and said, I want to teach them the life of a river because we have the rivers flowing all by us and going up in the mountains and seeing a useful river, come down to the valley to see an old river, so it's project based, instead of just reading, basal readers no, we went out in the field to collect information. And the teachers were excited because they saw what we were working on. Well, let me bring in more information to build on what you're working on in science, you know?
Hmm.
And then, so I went to the school board and said, okay, and had the kids explain it. I didn't need to explain it. If the kids can explain it, then I know I was successful. One kid named Chris, very first day he was there, he goes, his mom said, she drug him in. He doesn't want to be here. So in the stream tables, I did toothpick races where we measured the time it takes for one toothpick to go 125 centimeters. And then we have one hose, two hoses, three hoses. So working on velocity. Then we work on slope and elevation. And so the next day at 7:30, I always like to go early. Chris was before me. I go, Chris, what are you doing? He goes, well, I can't wait to see what we do next.
Uh,
And here was a student the day before. And then a mother brought back another student from a dentist appointment from 9 to 10, and we're there just till noon. And I go, I didn't think she was coming. You said she wasn't coming back. She goes, she didn't want to miss what you were doing.
And
So that's when you
there's
know,
no better compliment to a teacher.
no, that's, isn't that the best?
I'm
You
not, I
know?
mean, I'm not a teacher, so I don't know, but yes, that would be
Yeah. Well,
just
for
knowing you're touching
anything.
someone
Yeah.
right there, right?
Yeah. So the school board changed the whole summer school curriculum to project-based science, and everything was built around that. So
Okay.
that's when
That's
I
a good
feel
school
like I did
district right there. That's
something.
a good dis
Yeah, the first time they ever listened
Yeah,
to
and
me,
well, I mean, I think that's the
you
problem. I think
know?
we talked a little bit earlier. I feel like it's not the teachers. We're not the teachers aren't the problem here.
No,
It's the way that these administrators implement learning that because they're again, and you mentioned it earlier today, and I don't know if if you and I are disagreeing on it or not, but there's a lot of, oh, you have to get a grade. You know, we as a
sure.
district need you to get a grade so we can say we're
Yeah,
successful. And
exactly, get the money.
yes, get the money and it needs to be, no, this is a good teacher who reaches these kids and touches them so they want to learn. We need to bring that teacher up and listen to them.
Well, they say to the administrator that you worry about data and money, I worry about where that child's gonna be after they graduate, and the strength they have in being a confident learner, not in academics, across the board. They're gonna be a better person when they're confident. Otherwise, they're gonna fall into the traps that we're seeing with misinformation because they don't do the
Oh, no, they just
research,
listened to it one time. Someone
you
said
know?
boo, so boo is what
Exactly.
we do
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
yeah, that's the frightening
Yeah, it
part,
is. I
you know,
agree.
so,
There's no
you know.
I saw something, it was a comedian, and she's a Gen Xer like me, and she said she's on stage, she says, "Yeah, back in the day, we used to do this thing. Yeah, we would we would listen to this side of the story, and we'd listen to that side, and then we'd make up our own decision of what we thought. And, you know, the whole
Yeah,
joke is that no one does that. They just hear something and go, "That's what I believe," you know, because
yeah,
they don't wanna do the
yeah,
research to find out, "Wait, that doesn't
no,
quite make sense what they're saying," or, you know, whatever, you know? And so,
exactly.
very interesting.
Yeah,
So tell me,
yeah, my old
something,
go ahead.
let's go to another topic a little bit because
Yeah,
I wanna know what I will just say this, that I ran my insurance business for all those years, and I was good at it, and I made good money at it, and, you know, there's all sorts of reasons why it was a good thing, so I'm not poo-pooing it, but the one thing I didn't do is try to do something I was passionate about because of fear. Fear, I realized this actually during COVID. So COVID was bad for lots of reasons, but it woke me up.
yeah.
It made me realize I don't wanna live in fear, and it was just that first, it was a catalyst for me. Um, what's a fear that you think that holds you down? Is there anything, like, in your mind that you can think of, "Yeah, this is something I wish I would have done, but I was afraid to take that step?"
Oh, geez, many times, all the time, even, daily
Yeah,
sometimes,
today.
like, I'm not gonna cross that because I don't know what, the uncertainty, and there wasn't any, and then, it's like trying to get the girls to go skiing get ready at 5 in the morning so we can go to Steamboat Springs and ski, and they hated that, but then once we arrive at Steamboat and they go, "Oh, so glad we're here,"
Yeah,
so
they have the
and
full 8 hours to ski because you
yeah,
right?
yeah, but then you think about that just across the board. Again, all I have to do is just cross that threshold. Whether it works out or not, it's okay because I'm not gonna, I always tell them, again, my one principal always called them Kirkisms, but I always said that, when you
I
you make a
almost said that
decision,
earlier today. I almost said
yeah,
a
did you today?
Turkism right
Yeah,
there.
remember? Yeah. Yeah, when you make a decision, it's the right one, but you have to live with the consequence. So when you make that decision, first think, what is the consequence? Before you make that decision, think, okay, if I say this out loud, is it going to be all about me, just about me? And I'm trying to, work on a fear or something. No, just get out there and just do it and do it in the best way where everybody says, yeah, This is good.
one thing I've told my family ever, it's, you gotta take the step, and a mistake or an error or something that doesn't go well is not a bad thing if you take that moment to learn from it
Mhm,
and
mhm.
move your life forward. And so a lot of
Yes.
people are so afraid of making that mistake that that they won't even try something new, right? And, I'm on that
Yeah,
journey now big time. I'm not in the real insurance business, I'm in the real estate business, and I'm love
yeah,
what I do, but it's hard work, and I'm making mistakes.
yeah,
That's what we do.
yeah,
But I have learned so much from making those mistakes because I'm taking the action to do it, and so,
yeah,
yeah, fear is a big it's a big reason why lots of people aren't happy.
yeah.
And I think that we just need to stop letting fear run us. And, so that was
No,
my
absolutely.
learning lesson during COVID, and I've been taking it, and I've been making mistakes more than I ever used to. My insurance business was safe. I made good money. I knew the pattern. I knew the system. I didn't have to go outside my box, and I was miserable.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's a big fear
there you go.
is yeah, is I don't know, that's just part of life, I guess. I say life is life. It's how we deal with it, and,
Yeah.
my big thing is I've talked with the superintendent and some principals, and I give him my research, I give him what I've written, and again, it's not in the wheelhouse of data and money. It's about it's all about teaching the kids, and they don't want to go there. So my goal, I always thought I'd love to do a podcast for teachers and parents. Again, because parents are really bad at sabotaging their children when they say, "Oh, I'm not very good at math." You just gave your child to say, "Well, I'm not very good at math either, and you did all right. You're doing all
Yeah,
right."
so therefore I
And
don't
you
need to
say, "But
try that. That's not
yeah, so how do I
conduct.
rephrase that?
Yeah.
I'm not very good at math, but this is what I did to get better."
Yeah, but,
But
"Oh, you're not good at math, so I'm not gonna try, so therefore
yeah, yeah,
let's
right,
get
yeah,
outside that
yeah.
box." Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I mean well, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I love
But like you said, yeah, my fear, but coming back to the fear, what do I fear? At 71, the girls say, don't be a grumpy old man, but I said I've earned that right to use my voice in a different way. And not condescending. It's always, like you said, in a helpful way, but they just want to make sure I don't go old and grumpy, you know, which Jackie knows I'm in the Peter Pan syndrome that I'm never going to grow old or up, right?
yeah, yeah,
In that sense, because you've heard me say, because I love to work out, you know that. So I say my mind lies to me, my body doesn't.
yeah. That's
I'm thinking, oh, I can do that, and then I just no, no, no,
no,
no.
no.
My body's saying no, 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 no,
Yeah, I'm at the point
right?
in my life where I'm feeling that big time, I hear you.
Yeah, but
So,
every day's a joy,
it's joy. So
and
so, I want to talk about one other thing with you before we let you off
yeah,
the hook here. You
yeah.
have a talent, some people have this and I don't. So what happens is I really wanna put a new floor in my house. If I try to do it, it'd look like I did it. Uh, paint. If I tried to paint, it'd look like I did it. Um, I don't have that ability just to look at some and go, "You know what? I can make that better." Not on a physical sense, but you have this, I know, very handy, mindset, and, you have a business that or, well, I didn't know it as a business, but I think it's a business, and I think you're realizing it's a bit
Yeah,
which is you do stained glass and framing of stained glass, and you do lots of really artistic stuff that's amazing. Tell
thank
tell me
you.
a little bit about that, what you're been doing and what you're trying to do now.
Well, it's funny. My father and I opened up a restaurant bar together. It was the last thing we opened up together because we had two restaurants before that. And I started getting in stained glass in 1979 because I wanted to do stained glass windows all around the bar. And then our back bar was absolutely custom made and beautiful that I wanted to complement it with glass. And so a friend of mine, Mark McNerney, and I and he was the true artist. And I said, well, let's do stained glass. And so that's how it started in 1979. Then I came down here, as you know, with 172 old windows from around Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska,
Okay.
Utah.
First of all, no one just goes
Yeah.
from some place to another place with 107, a whole bunch of windows. So that's not just you just happen to be here with a whole bunch of windows. You did that because you saw something there.
Yeah, I wanted to separate myself from other artisans. Anybody can do a stained glass window.
Yeah.
But when you're working with a 100-year-old window that's so ornate or different and the hardware is on it, and then as you said, though, but the way I really separate myself, and I was sharing that with you earlier, is that I do sand carving, or the other word for that is sandblasting. Went to a sandblasting school. So I use flash glass, which is beautiful stained glass. That's you take a regular piece of glass or a color piece of glass, and then you color it with another glass on top. And it's called flash glass, but it's running like 100, $120 a square foot now. And I was buying it in the 80s for 10, $8, and I have if you saw my stockpile of everything, because I knew I was going to do this during my retirement, and I bought lead cane spools, big lead cane spools. I love the 3/16 and the quarter-inch, but I like the thinner because I just like that thinner look, and I'm old school. I don't use copper foil. So you have a three-pane window, right? So in the middle pane, I will do a stained glass, and then on the other two panes next to it, I sandblast the pattern that's going to match the glass in the middle. Or I'll take the sandblasting because you saw the floral sandblastings that
You know, we're gonna,
because I did over 300
I'm gonna have you
designs.
send some pictures. And we're gonna
Sure.
put those, if we can get this thing posted, we're gonna go ahead and put a couple of your images out so you can see people can see what you're doing. Because it's when you started talking to me about this, I was like, a child picking my nose, not paying attention, didn't understand the quality. But as
Yeah.
I saw some of the work you did, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, we're gonna need some photos of this. We're gonna need some
Yeah.
video
I had the
evidence of this.
photos. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe you send me some images we can
Yeah. I'll send you.
put
Yeah.
up.
And the fun thing I'd send you too is on the same glass board when you start to put the pattern together, what that takes, because people don't really, you have to draw out the pattern. And every window is different. Now, some windows are the same size, but most are different that I use, right? So that's the fun part about
You
it,
know what?
to see it all come together.
You're gonna have to come up to Prescott. Prescott, Arizona is where I live, and it has
Yeah,
a courthouse with a big lawn around it, and every weekend, I mean, since we've been up here, every weekend there's something going on, whether
I love that. Yeah, market.
concert or market or foodie things. Lots of
Yeah,
art up here, many artists up here. You would love them here
love that.
just for that
Yeah,
alone, and you need to bring some of your artwork up here into one of these things because it's really you would love it, and it would be your product would be purchased and consumed at a high level.
yeah. Well, I had 7. They all went in one day.
And that's I'm telling
I
you,
just had to get them out there. I
yeah.
mean, just because, like you said, you asked for the name and it was Rarity Wood and Glass,
Rarity
and I
Wooden
said,
Glass is the name of your company.
yeah,
You're just starting
and I
to
said,
you don't you're
yeah.
like me, you don't have all the, social media accoutrements. You're going to be, so, the
I should. I
here's what
should.
I'll say is and end
Yeah.
this here, is if you are, if y we're gonna post this, if you see some of the images that we're gonna put on this and give you a link to those, if you're interested in that, Rarity Wooden Glass is Kirk's business, and you can contact me. My website is Brian at or that's my email. Simple Life Investing is my website. Reach out to me and ask me, hey, how do you get a hold of that Kirk guy? And I will make that happen. I will help promote your business because I think that it's
Yeah. Well,
really worthwhile.
that too, that, anytime a teacher and parents administrator. God, I wish they would listen.
Me
Because I would love to just share my ideas. I'd love to come present. I would love to come in a classroom and show you exactly what it sounds like and looks like when you have students hopefully sitting on the edge of their chair. What's next? What's next?
Wonderful.
But then, to do the journal writing, because that metacognitive part, again, the most is to be reflective, and say, what strategies do I need? What's the best way to approach this? How's my thinking working? But we journal that and say, this is where my struggle is with, especially in math, because that's the hardest. But now ELA too, because they hate to write.
ELA.
And then like reading, yeah. In the last book I just finished was Eagles and Empires about the Mexican War. And the one I always want to show the people at the end, that 130 pages for the bibliography, the research that went into this book. He had 130 pages of all the resources he used. That's when you're learning. When I would have my college students write, of course you need 3 or more. And I even wanted my students in the classroom, 3 or more resources that will help you put your ideas together and your thoughts together, you know.
Love it.
But then they'd love to come up and say, oh, this isn't very good. And I would say, so you're already putting a disclaimer on this that you didn't work very hard on it. you know?
Okay.
So, okay, so tell me what we need to do next to make it better,
I love it.
you know?
Well, Kirk, I appreciate
Yeah.
you hopping on here with me. I'm hoping that
We're gonna have fun. Let's,
I hope you had a good time. I did. And
oh, yeah.
I learned a little bit more from you as I always do every time I talk with you. So thank
Yeah,
you
thank
for
you.
that.
Man.
Bless you
Yeah.
for um being the educator that you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. And I missed the coffee on the front
I
porch
do too. I
and
do
with
too.
Lily and
You are always invited up to
yeah.
Prescott to come visit with me.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, again, God bless. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.